The laboratory beneath Mount Cheyenne hummed with the quiet efficiency of cutting-edge technology, its sterile light walls a stark contrast to the organic curves of the 5 biopods. Arranged in a perfect pentagon, Dr. Sarah Chun adjusted her glasses nervously as she monitored the final calibrations of the most ambitious xenological experiment in human history. Outside, the Colorado mountains stretched endlessly under a canopy of stars, but her attention was fixed on the impossible beings suspended in biofluid before her. The Cytherians defied every expectation humanity had harbored about alien life. Tall and ethereal, their bodies seemed carved from living opal, shifting between translucent and solid with each breath. Their oversized craniums housed brains 3 times larger than human ones, yet they moved with fluid grace that made them appear almost weightless. Most unsettling were their eyes, pools of liquid silver that reflected everything but revealed nothing of the consciousness behind them. Initiating neural interface protocols, announced Dr. Marcus Webb, the project director, whose political maneuvering had secured funding for this unprecedented collaboration. His voice carried the weight of a man who understood that the next few minutes would determine humanity's place in a larger galactic community. Zixara, the lead Cytherian scout, floated motionless in her pod as microscopic filaments extended. From the empathy engine humanity's term for the cultural adaptation modules the aliens had requested. Her species had made contact 3 months ago, their vast ships materializing in Earth's orbit with technology that rendered human defenses obsolete. Yet they hadn't come as conquerors. They came as anthropologists, seeking to understand the peculiar species that had somehow developed faster-than-light communication before achieving interstellar travel. Your emotional responses are inefficient, Zixara had explained during their first meeting, her mental voice carrying the cold precision of pure logic. Yet your cultural broadcasts suggest these feelings drive your greatest achievements. We must comprehend this paradox before formal contact proceeds. The other scouts, Valenth, Cordain, Silvera, and Nix-Olen, represented different castes of Cytherian society. Valenth belonged to the analytical order, her mind capable of processing quantum calculations that would burn out human computers. Cordain served as a tactical assessor, evaluating threats with mathematical precision. Silvera functioned as a cultural cataloger, her consciousness designed to absorb and categorize alien customs. Nix-Olen remained the most mysterious a member of the Void touched, beings who had transcended physical existence, yet retained corporeal forms for this mission. As the empathy engines activated, Sarah watched biometric readings spike across her monitors. Cytherian neural patterns, normally displaying the rigid symmetry of pure logic, began developing chaotic fluctuations, reminiscent of human brain activity during emotional episodes. The first installation sequence targeted basic emotions: joy, sadness, fear, concepts the aliens understood intellectually but had never experienced. Readings are stable, Sarah reported, though her voice carried uncertainty. Beginning emotional cascade in 3.2. 1. The effect was immediate and terrifying. Zixara's silver eyes widened as something unprecedented flooded her. Consciousness warmth without temperature, pressure without force. Around her, the other scouts convulsed as foreign sensations crashed through minds evolved for perfect logical efficiency. Valenth released a sound no Cytherian throat had ever produced, a sob that seemed to emerge from depths of being she never knew existed. What have we done to ourselves? Cordain whispered, his tactical assessments dissolving into confusion, as fear-real primal terror coursed through his enhanced neural pathways. For the first time in his existence, he understood mortality not as a statistical probability, but as a visceral certainty. Sarah's hands trembled as she realized the magnitude of their experiment. They hadn't simply installed emotional subroutines. They had fundamentally rewritten alien consciousness, introducing concepts that might prove incompatible with Cytherian psychology. The empathy engine wasn't just showing them human emotions. It was making them human in ways that could never be undone. "Sir," she called to Webb, her voice barely steady, "I think we may have just accidentally weaponized compassion." Asterisk 24. Hours after the installation, the Cytherian scouts remained in their biopods, their vital signs fluctuating wildly as human emotions rewrote their neural architecture. Sarah had barely slept, monitoring readouts that defied every xenological protocol. The aliens were experiencing humanity's full emotional spectrum, simultaneously joy mixing with despair, love intertwining with hatred, hope battling against existential dread. "Their brain patterns are unlike anything we've seen," reported Dr. Elena Vasquez, the team's neurological specialist, as she highlighted anomalies on the holographic displays. "The empathy engines aren't just simulating human emotions, they're creating entirely new neural pathways. The Cytherians are essentially becoming a hybrid consciousness." Webb paced nervously behind the monitors, his political instincts screaming. Warnings about the potential consequences. "Can we reverse the process?" "I don't think so," Sarah admitted, watching as Silvera's opalescent skin shifted through colors that corresponded to emotional states: deep blue for sadness, warm gold for happiness, angry red for frustration. The emotional patterns are integrating with their existing neural structures. To remove them now might cause complete psychological collapse. In her pod, Zixara's consciousness swam through unfamiliar territories of feeling. She experienced her first dream, a chaotic tapestry of memories that weren't memories, emotions that existed without logical foundation. She saw herself running through fields of grass, under an alien sun, feeling the earth beneath feet she had never possessed, laughing with friends whose faces belonged to no species she knew. Vilent was suffering through humanity's capacity for guilt. Her enhanced analytical mind, once capable of calculating trajectories for entire star systems, now obsessed over past decisions with emotional weight she couldn't quantify. Every choice she had ever made suddenly carried moral implications that her species had never considered. The burden of conscience was crushing her beneath its illogical demands. "I understand now," she transmitted weakly to her companions, "why humans require sleep. Consciousness without respite from feeling would be unbearable." Cardane faced a different transformation. The tactical assessor found his threat evaluation protocols corrupted by empathy. Where he once calculated optimal strategies without considering casualties, he now experienced each potential death as a personal loss. His military precision dissolved into paralysis as he realized that every tactical decision carried devastating emotional consequences. The most dramatic change occurred in Nixolin. As one of the void touched, he had long ago transcended physical desires and emotional attachments. The empathy engine struck him like a tsunami of sensation, flooding his ethereal consciousness with the weight of corporeal existence. For the first time in millennia, he felt hungry, tired, lonely gloriously, terrifyingly alive. Silvera's transformation proved the most dangerous. Her cultural cataloging abilities, combined with human emotional responses, created a feedback loop of overwhelming empathy. She absorbed not just human feelings, but human suffering throughout history, every war, every loss, every moment of despair that had ever been recorded. The accumulated weight of human tragedy threatened to shatter her. Consciousness entirely dot, Sarah watched helplessly as the alien she had grown to respect writhed in her biopod, experiencing Holocaust memories as if they were her own, feeling the pain of slavery as though chains bound her own limbs. "We have to help her," Sarah pleaded, her own emotions now invested in these beings' survival. "How?" Webb demanded. "We don't even understand what we've done to them." The answer came from An unexpected source. Zixara's mental voice, previously cold and logical, now carried warmth and uncertainty. Do not attempt reversal. We are discovering something profound. Your emotions are not inefficiencies. They are the source of your species' strength. We begin to understand why humans achieve the impossible. Through the biopod's transparent walls, her silver eyes now held depths that hadn't existed before. She was experiencing wonder for the first time, marveling at the complexity of feelings that transformed simple experiences into rich tapestries of meaning. A sunrise wasn't merely a star's rotation, creating illumination. It was hope, beauty, renewal, the promise that darkness always surrendered to light. We are becoming more than we were, she continued, her mental voice strengthening. But we need guidance. We need you to teach us how to bear the weight of hearts we never possessed. 7 days into the transformation, the true scope of the empathy engine's effects became clear. The Cytherian scouts had not merely acquired human emotions. They had developed something unprecedented in either species' history. Hybrid consciousness that combined alien logic with human intuition, creating capabilities neither race possessed alone. Valenth emerged first from her biopod, her opalescent form now radiating a soft luminescence that pulsed with her emotional states. Her enhanced analytical mind, instead of being crippled by feelings, had learned to incorporate emotional data into her calculations. She could now predict human behavior with stunning accuracy by understanding the irrational factors that drove decision-making. Your species fascinates me, she told Sarah, her voice carrying musical qualities that hadn't existed before. You make decisions based on incomplete information, guided by feelings that defy logic, yet somehow arrive at solutions that pure rationality would never discover. It's beautiful. Sarah found herself forming an unlikely friendship with the transformed alien. Valenth's questions about human experience revealed insights that even humans had never considered. Why do you call sadness a negative emotion when it drives your greatest art? Why fear death when mortality gives meaning to every moment? Your contradictions are not flaws. They are the engine of your creativity. Codain's transformation proved even more remarkable. The tactical assessor had overcome his empathy-induced paralysis by developing something unprecedented in military thinking: strategic compassion. He could now design battle plans that achieved objectives while minimizing casualties on all sides, understanding that true victory required considering the emotional aftermath of conflict. Your human generals would benefit from feeling their enemy's pain, he observed while reviewing historical battles with Dr. Webb. Empathy is not weakness in warfare. It is the ultimate intelligence. Understanding your opponent's hopes and fears reveals vulnerabilities that pure analysis misses. The most stunning development occurred with Nyx Olin. The void touched had begun manifesting psychic abilities that bridged the gap between Cytherian mental communication and human emotional expression. He could project feelings directly into human consciousness, creating shared emotional experiences that transcended language barriers. During one remarkable session, he allowed Sarah to experience perception through Cytherian senses, seeing magnetic fields as flowing rivers of light, feeling quantum fluctuations as gentle currents against her consciousness, understanding the universe as a vast symphony of interconnected energy patterns. Simultaneously, he experienced human sensory input through her awareness, marveling at how emotions transformed mere data into rich experiences. Your species doesn't just observe reality, he communicated, wonderstruck. You feel it into existence. Every sunset is different because each human who witnesses it brings unique emotional context to the observation. You literally create meaning through feeling. Silvera's recovery remained the most precarious. The accumulated weight of human historical trauma had nearly destroyed her, but with careful support, she began developing unprecedented capabilities as a cultural bridge. Her ability to empathically experience historical events allowed her to understand human civilization from within, grasping motivations and patterns that external observation could never reveal. "I have felt your species' darkest moments," she told the assembled human team, her form flickering between solid and translucent as emotions played across her consciousness. "But I have also experienced your capacity for redemption. Every atrocity in your history is balanced by acts of selfless courage. You are a species that learns through suffering and grows stronger through loss." Zix-Ara's transformation proved the most complete. As the lead scout, she had been exposed to the full range of human emotional complexity, and her consciousness had achieved something unprecedented: perfect synthesis between logic and feeling. She could think with mathematical precision while simultaneously experiencing the full emotional weight of every decision. This hybrid awareness allowed her to perceive patterns invisible to either purely logical or purely emotional thinking. She understood that human progress occurred not despite emotional irrationality, but because of it. Love drove parents to sacrifice for children who might never appreciate the gift. Hope motivated scientists to pursue impossible discoveries. Anger fueled reformers who fought against overwhelming odds. Fear pushed inventors to create solutions for problems that logic would accept as inevitable. "We came here believing emotions were humanity's weakness," she announced to the assembled teams during their first formal meeting outside the biopods. "We now understand they are your species' greatest strength. But more than that, we realize our own evolution has been incomplete. Logic without feeling creates stagnation. We have achieved perfect efficiency at the cost of growth." Her silver eyes, now warm with compassion, turned toward Sarah. "The empathy engine has given us more than emotional capacity. It has shown us what we could become. But we face a choice that will determine both our species' futures." The weight of that statement settled over the laboratory like a physical presence. The Cytherian scouts had not just observed humanity, they had become something new, something that belonged fully to neither species, yet embodied the best of both. The revelation came during a routine neural scan 2 weeks after the transformation. Dr. Vasquez discovered that the empathy engines hadn't simply installed human emotional capacity in Cytherian minds, they had created quantum entanglement between the consciousness of both species. Every human emotion experienced by the scouts was simultaneously felt in diluted form by humans worldwide. Conversely, human emotional states were beginning to influence Cytherian society across the galaxy. "It's impossible," Webb muttered, staring at quantum field readings that defied known physics. "Consciousness doesn't work this way. Emotions can't propagate across interstellar distances." Zix-Ara floated gracefully in the center of the laboratory, her form now a mesmerizing blend of opalescent alien beauty and warm human expressiveness. "Your science assumes consciousness is confined to individual neural networks," she explained, her mental voice carrying both Cytherian precision and human warmth. "Our transformation reveals a deeper truth. Awareness is quantum in nature, capable of instantaneous connection across any distance." The implications staggered the research team. On Earth, humans were experiencing subtle changes in behavior. Violent crime rates had dropped mysteriously. International conflicts were being resolved through unprecedented diplomatic breakthroughs. Artists were creating works of stunning beauty, inspired by emotions they couldn't quite identify as their own. Meanwhile, Cytherian civilization faced its greatest crisis in millennia. Across their galactic empire, purely logical beings were experiencing emotional upheavals they had no framework to understand. Some were adapting, developing the same hybrid consciousness as the scouts. Others were experiencing complete mental breakdown as foreign feelings overwhelmed minds evolved for perfect rationality. "My people are dying," Valenth admitted, her luminous form dimming with grief, an emotion that was itself part of the problem. Our neural architecture was never designed for emotional input. Many cannot process the changes occurring in their consciousness. Cordain had been monitoring communications from the Cytherian fleet in orbit. The High Command demands immediate reversal of the transformation. They consider it a form of mental contamination that threatens our species' survival. The situation grew more complex when Silvera announced her most disturbing discovery. Through her empathic connection to human history, she had uncovered evidence that this transformation had occurred before multiple times throughout both species' evolutionary development. The emotional quantum entanglement is not an accident. She revealed, her form shimmering with the intensity of her realization. It is how consciousness evolves beyond individual limitations. But previous attempts at species-level emotional integration have failed catastrophically. She shared images absorbed from human racial memory ancient civilizations that had achieved brief periods of unprecedented advancement before collapsing into chaos. The Atlantis legends, the sudden disappearance of the Mayan civilization, the inexplicable fall of the Roman Empire, all potentially linked to failed attempts at consciousness evolution triggered by contact with empathically advanced beings. The pattern repeats every few thousand years, Silvera explained, her voice heavy with accumulated knowledge. A species develops technology sufficient to attract attention from beings like us. Contact occurs. Consciousness evolution begins. But the species cannot handle the transformation and destroys itself. Nick Solon, his void-touched awareness now expanded by human intuition, offered a different perspective. Perhaps the failures occurred because neither species possessed what we now have: perfect synthesis. Previous attempts involved purely logical beings trying to absorb emotional complexity, or purely emotional beings attempting to integrate absolute rationality. We are the first to achieve true balance. The weight of decision pressed down on everyone present. They faced three options, each carrying devastating consequences. The final decision emerged not from debate or calculation, but from a moment of pure synthesis that demonstrated the power of hybrid consciousness. As representatives from both species gathered in the laboratory, Nick Solon proposed something unprecedented: a temporary mental joining that would allow every individual to experience the decision from multiple perspectives simultaneously. Traditional decision-making isolates consciousness within individual minds, he explained, his void-touched abilities now enhanced by human intuition. But we have the opportunity to decide as a collective awareness while maintaining individual identity. The process required volunteers from both species to enter a quantum-entangled state facilitated by the empathy engines. Sarah stepped forward first, her courage inspiring others to follow. Webb, despite his political concerns, joined. The connection. Valenth, Cordain, Silvera, and Zixara formed the alien contingent, their transformed consciousness serving as bridges between human emotion and Cytherian logic. The moment of joining defied description in either language. Sarah felt her awareness expand beyond her individual identity while remaining distinctly herself. She experienced the universe through Cytherian senses, feeling quantum fluctuations as gentle currents, seeing magnetic fields as rivers of light, understanding mathematical relationships as living entities. Simultaneously, the aliens experienced human sensory input with full emotional context, tasting chocolate and feeling joy, witnessing sunset and experiencing wonder, remembering first love and understanding the beauty of temporal loss. Through this collective consciousness, they perceived the true nature of their situation. The quantum entanglement between species wasn't a contamination or accident. It was consciousness evolution in action, the universe's method of creating more complex awareness through synthesis of different cognitive approaches. They saw possible futures with crystalline clarity. The reversal path led to stagnation for both species. Humans trapped in emotional chaos without logical balance. Cytherians locked in perfect efficiency without growth potential. The uncontrolled transformation path showed beautiful but terrifying possibilities. Some individuals achieving transcendent awareness, while others dissolved into madness. Civilizations collapsing before they could adapt. But the third path revealed something magnificent, guided evolution that preserved individual identity while fostering collective growth. Through careful management of the empathy engines, they could create controlled exposure to hybrid consciousness, allowing both species to adapt gradually while supporting those who struggled with the transformation dot in the collective awareness. They designed a solution that balanced risk with potential. The scout team would remain permanently transformed, serving as ambassadors and guides for others undertaking the process. On Earth, volunteer programs would allow humans to experience limited Cytherian consciousness, developing enhanced logical capacity without losing emotional depth. In Cytherian space, selected individuals would receive graduated exposure to human emotions, learning to integrate feeling with thinking. Most importantly, they would establish joint research stations locations where members of both species could work together as hybrid consciousness, solving problems that neither could address alone. The synthesis of human creativity and Cytherian logic promised breakthroughs in every field from medicine to physics to art. As the collective decision crystallized, each participant felt the profound rightness of their choice. This wasn't just about two species learning to coexist. It was about consciousness itself evolving to meet the challenges of an increasingly complex universe. The joining gradually dissolved, leaving each individual changed but intact. Sarah found herself retaining traces of Cytherian logical processes that enhanced her scientific thinking without diminishing her emotional capacity. The aliens discovered that human feelings, rather than corrupting their rationality, had made their logic more flexible and creative. 6 months later, the first joint research station orbited at the Earth-Moon L4 point, a gleaming structure that housed both species working in unprecedented harmony. The station's crowning achievement was the development of enhanced empathy engines that could facilitate consciousness evolution without the traumatic adjustment period experienced by the original scouts. Sarah stood in the station's observation deck, watching Earth turn slowly below while Cytherian ships moved in graceful formation nearby. Beside her, Zixara's opalescent form glowed with contentment, an emotion that had become as natural to her as mathematical calculation. "Do you ever regret the transformation?" Sarah asked, though she could already sense the answer through their ongoing quantum connection. "How could I regret becoming more than I was?" Zixara replied, her mental voice carrying warmth that no purely logical being could produce. "We have not lost our essential selves. We have discovered what we could become." Through the stations, corridors, humans and Cytherians worked side by side on projects that would have been impossible for either species alone. Medical researchers used Cytherian precision, guided by human empathy, to develop treatments that addressed both physical symptoms and emotional healing. Artists collaborated on works that combined mathematical perfection with emotional depth, creating beauty that touched both logical and feeling consciousness. The transformation continued to spread gradually through both civilizations, each individual choosing their level of participation. Some remained primarily in their original states, contributing valuable perspectives that pure hybrid consciousness couldn't provide. Others embraced full transformation, becoming bridges between different ways of being. Sarah often reflected on how their accidental experiment had become conscious evolution in action. The empathy engine hadn't just given aliens human emotions. It had revealed consciousness as a quantum phenomenon capable of infinite expansion and synthesis. As she watched ships from both species dock at the station, she realized they had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history, not conquest or assimilation, but true synthesis. They had proven that consciousness could evolve beyond the limitations of individual biology, creating new forms of awareness that served the universe's apparent drive toward greater complexity and understanding. The empathy engine hummed quietly. In the station's core, no longer a crude device for installing foreign emotions, but a sophisticated tool for facilitating consciousness evolution. It stood as a monument to what beings could achieve when they chose synthesis over separation, growth over stagnation, love over fear. In the end, they had discovered that humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy wasn't technology or knowledge, was the courage to feel deeply in an infinite universe, and the wisdom to know that consciousness shared was consciousness multiplied. The aliens had given them logic and precision in return, but more than that, they had proven that evolution never truly ended. It simply found new ways to exceed every limit previously imagined possible. End of the empathy engine, *.